thinking. We're live, and now we get to go live on Instagram.
Cool, cool,
Which
cool.
takes ever. There we go. Almost. Okay, there we go. Now we're live. People can see
Cool,
us.
cool.
It'll take a minute before we get everybody.
That's all good.
Um,
I'm not worried about that.
but I'll get us started. I know who you are. And I'm sure some of the people that'll watch today know who you are. But for all of the people that will watch this later, who is they, Vang, and Noiseless Productions? And I want to talk about the whole reason you do Noiseless. Timmy said, "Don't
Um,
suck."
hey, Timmy's right. Timmy's right. No,
I love
so
Timmy.
I'm just I'm a photographer, videographer from Maryland. I'm based out of Williamsport. I normally cover motorcycle road racing and track day stuff. I don't really do too much drifting, but that's normally because I don't have the time to do drifting stuff. It normally
Yeah,
falls right on the same weekend, or because motorcycle stuff that I cover is almost on every other weekend, and
yeah,
drifting, and a lot of drifting events fall on the weekend, obviously, and they just kind of interfere with each other. And because of that, I can't come out to a lot of drifting events. Normally, when there's an opening, I do go out, or like if it falls on the same weekend and it's at the same track, like Summit Point,
yeah.
I might, because normally when I shoot or when I cover motorcycle stuff, I stop around like 3:30, and then I might sneak my way to like a Drift Nirvana event and get like maybe like 30 minutes of footage or photos and just be like, okay, I'm out.
Right.
But by that time I'm too tired. I'm like, I don't want to stay too long. So that's who I am. I used to do a lot of weddings and stuff too, but due to a lot of like I prefer to be at the track because it's different, and that's
Sure.
something I would prefer to do. I just stay at the track instead.
Yeah, so actually, we can talk about that for a minute too. So I don't shoot weddings. I get asked very often to do them, and I don't because I'm very, very aware of who I am as an individual, and it's just not a space that I am going to do well in for the day. Not that I can't photograph it or video it and then edit the stuff. I'm just not built for it. And I know that, and there's no point in trying to make myself built for it for the money. Um, would you say that you got into weddings because it was, like, the easy thing to get into when you were doing photography? Like, what got you into photography and then got you into video? Because 'Cause I'm sure, like me, you probably started with photography first.
So I guess to start off on the photography thing first. So I got into photography when I was in high school. I
Sure.
am 36 now, so it's been a long time. Um, Wedding stuff is really just like a when I normally tell people about wedding stuff, it might be different for other people, but wedding is normally like word of mouth. So the way it works is once you start shooting, so if you shoot for a friend and the friend, like a mutual, like the friend of the friend, right? They they see your work and they're like, "Oh, that was so good," or "Oh, they did such a good job." And then
Right.
it's a word of mouth, and like when they decide to get married with their significant other, they reach out to you, or they might reach out
Mhm.
to their friend who got married that you shot, and then they
Mhm.
refer you, and then just kind of just trickles down. That's
Sure.
normally how it goes. And then once you start building your portfolio, then it starts to then when you start marketing yourself, then yeah, sure, you might pick up someone who's outside of that vicinity of like word of mouth. But that's normally how a lot of my weddings started. Was
Okay.
They all kind of just chained into each other. It was like I'm not from Maryland. I mean, from Maryland right now, but originally I'm from Cali. But when I first moved out
Okay.
to Maryland, it was a lot of I did a wedding for a coworker, and then the coworker's sister, and then the coworker's sister's friend, and then kind of just like snowballed,
Right.
right? And that's normally how it goes. Is you kind of just get snowballed in, and then once you start marketing yourself and you have like the portfolio for it, then and then you start getting other people. Then the other people's friends, and then like it chains off into other different trees of like of friends and stuff, and it just snowballs. Like
I gotcha. So, how did you segue from doing shooting weddings to being at the track? Like, what got you to the track first? Because I don't think it was motorcycles that got you to the track first, was it?
actually, it was motorcycles that got me to the track
Was
first.
it? Okay.
Yes. So long story short was I used to not be interested in motorcycles at all. I used to not
Okay.
even care, right? But it wasn't until because my brother rides, and I was living in Arizona before I moved out to Maryland. Maryland, and what happened was my brother was like, "Hey, dude, what are you doing with your life?" I was like, "Nothing." So, at that time, I didn't have any, Arizona was kind of like a stopgap. It wasn't really,
Okay.
nothing was really going on for me at the time. I was just living there just because. And he was like, at that time, he was in the he had just got out from the military. He was like, "What do you like? Why don't you move up to Maryland? Because it's always me visiting the family. It's never anybody visiting me." I was like, "Sure, let's do it."
Right.
Like, I don't have anything going on for me. Let's do it. And so when I came out to Maryland, and he used to ride at the track, and that's pretty much how it came to be was because I was a photographer at the time, and I was like, you know what? And he was like, you should come out and kind of shoot the track, but that kind of leads into another thing that we can talk about later. We're
Okay.
shooting at the track, but that's kind of basically how I got into shooting at the track for motorcycles.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely I know like even myself personally, shooting at the track started as a spectator. It wasn't I do motorsports photography or videography. It was like, "Oh, this is cool. I got a camera. I could do something." You know what I mean? And then it's like you're obsessed after that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's always like you kind of just get sucked into it. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. All right. So you moved back to Maryland after wandering for a little bit. And I will say that so the motorcycle thing that you're most affiliated with is ASRA, and I don't remember what that stands for.
So that I have to make sure I don't mess this up before my
We're doing great today. We're doing great.
yeah, right. I don't want to mess it up because I feel like the owner of Azra is going to be watching this and he's going to be like, "What are you doing?"
So, one of the things I will say is going to one of your media meetings, and I talk about media meetings a lot because I'm in so many of them. And some media meetings are done so well, and some I'm like, "Did we have a media meeting? Was that it?" Or okay. And then your day starts, and you're like, "Okay, don't die." Like that's the extent of the conversation. So what does it stand for?
Right. So it's well, I mean, in regards to so the name itself, right? It's the American
Uh,
Motorcycle Association, but it's oh, hold on a second. Am I lagging? Okay, anyways. So it's American Superbike Racing Association.
okay,
So
okay,
so when people talk about racing or like, things to do with motorcycle and they call it road racing, it's road racing itself is track racing, not actual like on the road racing. But
right, right, right,
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. But in regards to like, the meetings and stuff and media stuff, like there's a whole deep part of it, which we'll go through this, podcast in itself. But
Yeah,
um it gets interesting, and I feel like anyone, any media who's interested, who's paying attention or comes back to come watch this and whatnot, it's information that I think that they should probably kind of keep eye on if they want to get into it, right?
yeah,
Because it's very people don't realize this is actually, even though it's a very saturated thing, it's also niche at the same time. It's hard to
sure.
explain.
I always refer to media anymore as being very convoluted because media does not work the same way photography and video used to work years upon years ago. It's not the same thing. The
Mhm.
processes aren't the same anymore. They should be, but the oversaturation is actually access. If anybody has access and they can put together something marketably, usable, almost anybody can market something, right? And that's what we find, I think, happens with a lot of creatives is they're not good at the marketing side. They don't like it. They don't want to be bothered with it. I am one of those. And so stuff falls flat. It doesn't go anywhere. So they're like, why am I putting all this effort into this thing that just, what am I doing? Is the constant feedback I get from most people that do anything with photography, videography, any of it. It's like, unless you're exceptional or unless you figure out how to make it work in your favor, you're going to hate it.
So that's one thing that's like very big is the marketing part of it, the marketing
Mhm.
aspect. I'm
Yep.
actually really bad at it too. Like I'm
Okay.
extremely bad. Like to be honest, because I'm a big introvert. So when it comes down to like social media and stuff,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for like if my work did not revolve around social media, I would not have social media. It would just be like blank.
I don't
Like I
think
would
I
just
would
be gone.
either.
Yeah,
I don't think I would
like
either.
none of it would be relevant to me. It would it just I just wouldn't care for it, right? But because it
Yeah.
does revolve around social media. But
Sure.
the marketing aspect is one thing where you have to kind of be good at it. And if you're not good at it, you can make up for it by having extremely high quality. And then when I say quality, I'm
Yeah.
talking about not just like the quality of the video itself, but like editing as well. If you're good
Yeah.
at both of those, it can carry you if you don't do any marketing. But if
Yeah.
you had that and marketing, then it would carry you even further.
Sure.
It's just a matter of, do you want to go through the trouble of it? Because sometimes marketing doesn't work, you know? You just
Yeah.
have to keep
Yeah.
doing it until it does work. It's really what it
Well,
is.
and I think that's it. I think it depends on why do you keep showing up? That's a question I ask myself a lot. And in the motorsport space, I think I keep showing up because I do enjoy it. Like I enjoy the experience and I enjoy the people so much, especially on the grassroots side. But I'm not consistent, and I own the fact that I'm not consistent because I'm always trying different things, and I'm like, oh, that looks like that does not look good. And you go, all right, we're gonna try something again different this next time. But you either have to be willing to just, like, keep showing up for the fact that you enjoy it and the play. That's what I always talk about with creativity is play. Like, you have to enjoy playing with things essentially, whether that's settings, whether that's props, whatever it is. Um, I can't do I'm not very good at the batch stuff, like batch photos and batch editing, and I've gotten better at it because 'cause I've kinda had to, but I think I don't know about for you. You already seem to have kind of like a setup process, especially when it comes to the Azure stuff, which was why your media meeting stands out, I think, a little bit more in a lot of ways. Um, there was no guesswork. There was you introduce, everybody at the driver meeting or the rider meeting to the fact that there is media here and who they are and how you can track them down, stop and talk to them. Most events don't give a shit about media. They're there, they know they're there. You got in for free, that's what you get.
Right. So I guess starting off first, right? Like the whole point of like when you were saying that when you go out, you try stuff, right? That's
Mhm.
one thing that's very like extremely important when I talk to other media people, people who are like trying to get into media or trying to get into like photography, videography at the track is
Right.
you have to be willing to try stuff. Like
Mhm.
if you're not say for example, like if you're curious about something and you're like, you can search it up on Google, YouTube, you may
Yeah.
not get the answer. And to be honest, you probably won't get the answer if it's regarding track photography, track videography.
Mhm.
You're not going to get the answer because there are so many things that you can do that the if a YouTube video says or like a if you search up like a something on Google or something, right? Like an article, you don't know until you do it,
Yeah.
right? And so the biggest thing is I feel that you have to be willing to try stuff. If you're not willing to try stuff, you're never going to improve. And
Sure.
until you do it and you see what that setting that you tried works or doesn't work, you're not gonna know like in the future, like, oh well, I can actually use this setup or the setting to my advantage. or you're not gonna
Yeah.
know what it actually provides you, like what it does. So it's kind of like shooting low shutter speed, high aperture. You're not gonna know what that provides you. You're not
Yeah.
gonna know.
Well, and some cameras do better with that than others as well too. And,
Oh, for sure,
depending
for
on
sure.
what you're working with depends on you might have to go up a notch on something or down a notch on something to get the effect that you want. So no, I get that. I apologize to all my media friends very often. I'm like, so look, I got a question. Because they're uh Mike Pilk, he or Pilkerton, he gave me access to his drone stuff from last year, which has been great because he's got such great footage, but he doesn't do enough with it. I'm like, just give me it. And but I put it up on YouTube. Like I just put like one of the events, just like clipped everything out, tossed it up on YouTube to see what it would do. And I'm like, this looks like shit on my TV. Looks great on the phone, looks great on the computer. But as soon as I saw it on the TV, I'm like, all right, I got to do research. Like I got to figure out what I did. Was it an export setting? Was it something I did when I edited? Is it just the fact of like the way the frame was set up to begin with because of the way it was shot? And then I realized I do have an export issue for my own footage, and I figured that out in the course of trying to figure this one out. DC240SX says Vay on YouTube. And I'm going to add that up here on the screen. There he is. I don't know who that is, but he's on a motorcycle and he knows you.
I can't see the icon is too small on my screen, so I can't see.
DC, we need
Oh,
you to tell us who you actually are. Oh, it's
oh, it's
Don
Dawn. It's
C.
Dawn. Okay, well there you go.
Hi, Don. Not even a writer. Well, I guess he is a writer, but is your motorcycle fixed yet, sir? By the way,
That's what we
side
say
note
back in the day.
conversation with
Back in the
Don.
day, Dawn.
Yeah. Well, I think his motorcycle's getting worked on at the moment. Um, All right, where were we? Totally lost that train of thought. But yeah,
Uh,
so I have rookie things still happen to me even now. Like I ejected one of my SD cards across the van at one point in time and couldn't find it. Like I was using a mini
mhm.
and I just tossed another one in because I was on the fly. And for 2 months, I thought I needed to replace my camera when all it was my dumbass didn't put the right type of SD card in the camera that the camera needed.
I
And that
mean,
took
it's
having a conversation with a friend of mine, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even think about that." And sure enough, that was what the problem was.
you know things happen, right? But going
Yeah.
back to like the whole like trying things out, like you have to be willing to try things out, especially if you want to improve. Like, don't be
Yeah.
scared. If you're afraid of using it at an event that you're supposed to cover, right? Like that's just like money, you know,
Yeah.
then don't do it at the money event, right? Do what you know
Yeah.
for sure is going to work. Like for me, like I said, I shoot motorcycles like 90% of the time. I go out to drift events because of two things. One, I'm testing out settings I normally would not test out at motorcycle events,
Right.
right? Because it's like
Right.
I can't afford to really mess up here, right?
Yeah.
Whereas motorcycle events, nobody really knows me except for like maybe like a few of the instructors from um, Drift Nirvana, and I don't go out to
Mhm.
other events outside of Drift Nirvana because I just don't have the time to.
Sure.
And um, I'm testing out settings, and then number two is it's something different. I'll tell you this right now: shooting drifting stuff is a lot easier, so it's very chill for me. so it's like,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, I get to just chill and relax. The view, they're
Yeah, it's like
cars, so like
the
everything's
car
bigger.
is this size and the motorcycle is this size
Yeah,
when you're looking
exactly,
through that
right?
viewfinder.
Exactly, and then the motorcycles are going so much faster too, right? So it's like you have to like be on,
Mhm.
and it's just like I'd rather not. Where drifting is like I get to just chill, relax, have fun, and
Right.
for like and like I get to film and I get to try different things and bring it over to the motorcycle side, and it's nice because you know when it's motorcycle racing, I don't really have the 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 ability to just really test stuff out because I have clients that I got to take care of,
Mhm.
and I
Well,
want
and
to provide them the
everything is
best
like
stuff.
this. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything is like this. It's like next
after
thing, next thing, next thing, next thing.
yeah, and that because I invited you to Tiazra last year, and it was
Mhm.
like I wanted you to come and shoot because I was like, we don't have enough Azra media, but at the
Right.
same time, going back to it, we are limited as well because it's like
Yeah.
anybody who is watching does media, Don knows. But it's like, um, we so like what you like what you were saying, where I introduced media so that
Mhm.
the whole paddock knows who's here shooting. It's because I want you guys to make money. I want your stuff on social media so that people who are doing the racing, like all the writers and stuff, I want them to know who's there and present, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also it's also limited because limited in terms of like official media, right? Like if you want to come out and shoot, you're more than welcome to. But the official media is like a Azra will support it. They'll post it on their page, they'll let you know who the media
Right.
are. And it's more so because we want healthy competition. And healthy competition means that there's going to be good quality. Because it's like if someone's buying your stuff, it means that they prefer your stuff because there's a standard to it, a standard of quality to it.
Right.
And it's like, say for example, like if you were selling stuff and they weren't buying mine, I'd be like, what am I doing wrong? Well, I gotta improve on something, right? And it
Right.
makes me and if I'm coming out, I'm spending money coming out and stuff like that, I want to do this for sure. I would find ways to make my stuff look better, to be better. And that promotes quality. And not only do you get better and I get better, it means the
Right.
people are also getting better media. And that's how that's how Azure runs it, right? In terms of Azure.
Right.
And it's different from other like
Oh,
organizations.
100%.
And it's
100%.
like, and I will, I mean, some people don't know, some people do know. I am the head of media for Azra, and I hold that to a high standard in terms of like how I allow media to be accepted. Is I don't care about your credentials. Like if you shot for IMSA, for example, I don't care. If you shot for like D1 or back in the day or I it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what does your work look like?
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people whose work look very, very, very amazing, and they've never shot officially for anyone. And then
Right.
there are people who have shot before for like organizations that you're kind of like, whoa, that's crazy. But at the same time, their work doesn't look that great. I don't care about who you've shot for. I care about
Sure.
your quality of work. So just moving forward, like people who want to shoot for organizations they've never shot for before, if you're confident in your quality of work, perfectly fine, go for it. Like apply for the credentials. You never
Absolutely.
know. But at the same time, just because you have to be very humble in this industry. Like just because you've shot for other organizations that are of a higher profile, it doesn't mean that you're going to get in for organizations that might be of a lower profile. They might have a
Right.
higher standard. So it's just kind of like a heads up, you know.
Well, and I will say it's been interesting, like from my perspective on the different places that I have applied to, because I've had some where like they throw all these things like you have to have this, you have to have that, you have to have this, like they have these requirements, but then they really don't. When you apply, it's like almost everybody got pushed through regardless.
Mhm.
And then you got like 30 or 40 media people at an event. And depending on the event, that's okay. If it's the size of track, the size of event, like that sort of thing, sometimes it's a little overkill if you're not careful. One of the things that I like that you said to me before I was like, "Yeah, let's do this. I do wanna check it out," was you're like, "I would bring you in, especially considering the fact that you have track experience." And I
Mhm.
hadn't really thought about that too much because, like, when I got started with it, I got started with it as a spectator going, "Okay, this is cool. I could do that." But having the track experience does make sense in the long run, especially like Azra because of the rate of speed is so much different than if you were at a drift event or a road race event. I mean, most of those motorcycles are going well over 100 at some point, correct?
Yeah, yeah. It's you
Yeah, that's
like
what I thought.
it's so much faster. It's like, then, it also doesn't help that they're so much smaller as well. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and when the motorcycles lose control, it's very different from when a drift car, loses control. I mean, for the most part with physics, you know which way the drift car is going to go if they don't take a turn properly. Now, if something breaks and then it goes straight, they don't have control over that, and then the physics are different. But the motorcycles can get really squirrely depending on what portion of the track something goes wrong.
Yeah, so motorcycles are kind of like the mercy of physics almost, right? In both ways, where
Sure.
it's like if you crash out going like, let's say like if you're at turn 6 at Summit Point, Maine, it's almost a guarantee. Like if you crash there, you're sliding out. Most of the time, you're
Yeah.
sliding out no matter what. When you have four tires, things get a little bit more squirt. You're drifting, or not even drifting, but just like four tires in general. Like
Mm-mm.
you might catch grip and like swing inside.
Yeah.
Motorcycles, that's never going to happen. It's never going to come. You're never going to grip and come back inside. It's always going to crash
Right.
outside, right? Where and that in general is just like you have to understand physics, but at the same time, track experience means that you know where it's likely a bad idea to stand, and it's for motorcycle stuff, it's especially racing, right? Like you can't afford to let a race flag the or you can't have like people flag the race because of you as media in an
Yeah.
area where you shouldn't be. And that's where it just comes down to is because I've known you for a little bit, not very long, but it's just like I've known you. I know that you shoot Drift Nirvana. I know you have experience at the track. I've seen your work. I've seen your ethic, and it's kind of like I just want to make sure that the people I do bring on to come and shoot or invite to shoot are experienced at some point in terms of like track experience. Like
Sure.
it doesn't necessarily mean that like if you've only shot as a spectator, it doesn't mean that we're not going to acknowledge it because shooting as
Right.
the expert means that you're actually putting in effort to. But
Yeah.
like if I had to choose between someone who had track experience and their quality was like let's say out of 10, right? If their
Hmm.
quality was at like a 7 and this person who has never shot the track before was at like a 9,
Right.
I'd pick the person who was at the 7 just because of track
Okay.
experience.
Sure. Okay, there you are. I think
Yeah,
you lagged there
it
for a
lagged out.
second.
Yeah, it lagged for a second. My bad.
Um, it's yeah, I mean, I get that, and I had a thought, and I think I just lost it. I'm
Uh-oh.
doing great today. Yeah, I'm
I
doing great today. That
I ran on
ADHD
to it.
brain is working today. Um, I think it's been different in kind of every space that I've been in, but what part of this conversation got started from etiquette, like media and track etiquette, because it's so varying across the board that one of the things that I like that you do with the Azra stuff is you try to have some level of continuity across what everybody is kind of charging. Like you don't have to charge the same thing. There's kind of a threshold of like, hey, we're not going lower than this. You can go higher if you want to. And if somebody wants to pay for it, that's great. But we need to like stay like, here's kind of where that bar needs to start. Doesn't max out anywhere, you do you, but this is where it needs to start because that's what happens a lot of times, especially like in the grassroots spots. And this has come up a lot here recently. A lot of people will put out there, they're like, oh, I do it because I love it. I'm fortunate to have a job that pays for my hobby, and my media will always be free. Okay, well, you've now set the standard. That's where the bar starts. And then somebody who's going into checking out a new space and they actually have a fee, well, now they don't even know how to price. And that was part of what happened with one of the events was everybody was seeing the quality, didn't like the quality, and then they saw the price and they're like, we don't understand. But then most of their media people didn't have any pricing and didn't push out near as much content as they normally would. Everything was just chaos and it was all over the place. Um, so that was, I think, a big part of this was talking about how you got to where you got to with Azra and what you've kind of learned along the way and things that maybe people should be mindful of in the space.
So, I guess the first thing that I want to point out when it comes out to being mindful is when you're a person who's shooting, if you have any intentions to sell, right? If it could be Drift Nirvana, it could be literally anything. You well, maybe not Drift Nirvana or a Drift event because they allow so many media people. But like if outside of that, like if it's like a car event, like SCCA or and you're
Mhm.
shooting as a spectator, if you have any intentions of selling, you should probably reach out to the organization first and probably introduce yourself to the official photographer because normally they only have one photographer. The reason why I say that is because if you're trying to get into it, the last thing you want to do is upset the organization or upset the photographer.
Sure.
Because when you do that, you are pretty much going to exile yourself out from that community pretty quickly.
Right.
Okay, but I just want to get that out there because
That's fine.
I feel like that is not very well known. But
So
in regards to
I think it's tough though, because I'm going to add on to that.
mhm,
So many of the events that I go to, especially if they're grassroots, don't have any of that. It is a
mhm.
free for all.
Yeah, it's a
And
free for all.
I think that's where a lot of people get started because it's the easiest point of entry.
Right, right,
Which I think is where things get convoluted because I understand what you're saying is there are some organizations where they have their media built in, um, but a lot of what I have seen in some of the other spaces is it's not built in, and that's actually part of the problem is there's no structure for anybody to gauge anything off of because there's no structure. So if it's a free for all, you're either lucky if you get paid or everybody expects the media to be free. But your point is absolutely valid is there are some spaces where that doesn't work and that doesn't fly, but sometimes you're dealing with the track and sometimes you're dealing with an organization, and that's a whole other thing that you have to figure out. Because when I first started, I would reach out to a track going, "Hey, I see you have this event," and I'd get no response. Well, that's because the third party that's actually hosting the event has nothing to do with the track, and you have to talk to the third party. And
right,
that
right,
was the first lesson I learned.
right. So especially for grassroots stuff like drifting, especially drifting,
Hmm.
which was the point that I was going to come up to was there's so much things to put into perspective where it's like for one, it goes back to what I was talking about where you have to be humble. When I say humble, you have to I 100% believe that when you take a photo that's bad, you know it's bad, right? Like
I don't think
there's
you
been
know it's
so
bad. I don't think you know it's bad until you look at it later.
well,
You
I
know how
mean, no,
many
no, that's
times
what I
I've
mean.
done when I'm like, "Oh, I love this," and I come back to the next one, I'm like, "My God, this is
No, no,
dreadful. Why did I love this
I
last
guess
night?"
when I say bad, I mean like you're viewing it, you're culling, right? You're going through your
Right.
photos,
No,
you're like,
I got
okay,
you, got you.
that's a lot worse than what I thought it looked like, right?
Right.
You have to be humble, and I feel like a lot of some people are, right? But because they're also like kind of nervous about getting into like the whole aspect of selling stuff. I get it.
Mhm.
Like you're not used to it. You're
Sure.
not sure what to price your stuff at. Like
Yeah.
you're not sure what to price yourself at your stuff, it makes sense. But people who are good, like even if you're naturally like good, you have to be you're basically the standard. Like you have to be willing to
Yeah.
set yourself up with the standard. Like I get it, like some people want to just do it for fun, and that's cool. But like just
Yep.
know that when you do it for fun, you there are people who are there who are trying to push it further than just fun, and what you do might affect them.
Yeah.
Now, it could go both ways where it's like, yeah, sure, like I don't care. And it's like, cool, you don't care. That's fine.
Yeah.
But just keep that's something to keep in mind, especially if you are actually trying to do something. That makes it even more obvious. Where you were talking about Azra, where I don't allow people to sell their stuff for so cheap
Right.
because it's like if I have like six media people and they're all pretty decent or all pretty good, and one person's selling their photos for like let's say $3 a pop, right? And
Mhm.
your stuff, and you just so happen to be the one person who is actually the best out of all of them, you're messing it up for everybody else.
Sure.
Because now, because now what's happening is people are buying your stuff because your stuff is good, but then people who are the other dudes who are or the other people who are selling theirs for a little bit higher, they're not going to make any sales. And then these individuals who are buying your stuff is also cheaper.
Right.
right? And yeah, sure, you'll make more sales. That's cool. But then that comes into the aspect of, is it better to make more sales at a less rate, or is it better to make less
Right.
sales at a higher rate? And it's
Sure.
just everything just kind of just comes and goes. It comes with experience, right? But I
Yeah.
don't allow it because I want. It also means that like I have it set up to where like the people who are battling for sales have to get better at taking photos or
Right.
or editing or anything of that nature, right? Like you have to be good. Like if people are buying this other person's stuff, like you that just means you have to get better. And if you get better,
Mhm.
people are going to buy your stuff, right? And it gets complicated because especially at a grassroots event, you get a lot of people who will get discouraged. Like if you come out there all the time, you're spending money to come out there, especially if you're traveling, right? Luckily for me, I'm like 30 minutes away from Summit Point, so I'm super close. So
Sure.
no, it doesn't matter. But let's say like if you're someone from like let's just say Pennsylvania, they're not too far, but you're not too close either. But you still have
Right.
to spend money to get there. If you do that enough in a year or maybe over a span of 3 years, you're gonna get burnt out if you're not making
Oh,
any
sure.
sales. And the thing
Sure.
is, I always tell people you should never expect to make any money. It's okay to kind of expect it, but just understand that if you're going to a grassroots event, there's a lot of free media, so you should probably be careful, right? And
Yeah.
you can't blame the drivers or the riders to you can't like you shouldn't expect them to ever buy your stuff. That's the worst idea ever. Now, if you
Right.
can get them to work with you before the event, perfect. Do what you want.
Yeah.
But if you are expecting it, that's where things go downhill. And
Yeah.
you it's a really over a span of a couple years, if you're not making any money to at least cover your expensive, people get discouraged and they leave. And
Sure.
that's fair, but at the same time, it kind of falls on the organization to kind of allow that to that kind of allows people encourages people to get better to make a sale if that's the case,
Right.
right?
I get the cat staring at me, but for whatever reason, he
Oh,
won't
you're
join
fine. You're
me.
fine.
He wants to stare at me and yell at me. Um, yeah, one, I think that's kind of it. I think some of it kind of goes hand in hand. I think everybody has a responsibility in there somewhere. I know that, one of the complaints that I hear from the event organizers is, they let like 30 or 40 media people in, but then they see media from like four or five of the same people that they always see media from. Well, at that point in time, then you've got to go, okay, so who didn't share any? Who didn't tag anything? Who didn't do something with it? But they also have a lot on their plate too. So it's like the last thing that gets dealt with. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. It's been interesting, but part of the etiquette part of it too is it's like trying to think of what my words are on this because I think there's good etiquette and I think there's bad etiquette, but I think it's different for everyone.
No, I agree. It's I mean, it's kind of like, what I think it's good may not be as good for you, right? And vice versa. But I do
Right.
think that there's at least like a certain level of goodness, right? But I do like when it comes down to all that, like the organizations, they need someone who can at least kind of be truthful and humble. Like I get it, but you have to understand some tracks are different from others. Like Summit Point, for example. I'm only using Summit Point as an example because that's the only drifting track that I've ever really shot.
Sure.
It's very people are lucky that Summit Point is very fan friendly, spectator friendly.
Right.
So like if you come to shoot, you can shoot as a spectator and still get really
Mhm.
good stuff, like really amazing
Agreed.
stuff. Whereas like if you shot at like a different track, like let's just use NJMP, New Jersey,
Mhm.
which I don't think they're doing drifting there, but if they did, it would be the worst, right? Because it's just not
Right.
fan friendly at all. And that's where like organizations need to understand that like it's you I truly believe that they should limit the amount of media, official media, right?
Right.
Where these are the people where like if they wanted to collaborate stuff with you on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, Facebook, those are the people that
Sure.
you would accept. Those are the people you want to work with. Official media, people that you would promote. And then if you
Right.
want fans, if fans want to come and shoot or spectators, let them do it, right? But don't share your you can maybe share them on story or something, but don't share their stuff. Like
Right.
don't collaborate. Keep it separate so that they have something to strive for. Like, oh, I want to be official, right?
Right.
You're still giving the ability to shoot. They may not get the best access that compared to like official. Like let's just say Shenandoah on Summit. That's like let's say like a official would get access to the carousel,
Sure.
right? And then your spectators would just stop right at the top of the carousel before you can go down.
Right.
And then the person who handles media would just be like, well, if this person is better than this other person who's official, just swap them. And then you can't really get your feelings here if that happens.
Sure.
And it's the only way to really go about like pro, I guess promoting quality and promoting competition. And like the thing is like people don't understand. Like I barely shoot drifting at all. Like last year, I shot the very first Drift Nirvana event. I shot Final Bout, and then I
Yeah.
shot Drifters of December. Literally, like if it was just Drift Nirvana, the very first and the very last event.
Yeah.
And for both of those events, a lot of people reached out for material, and they were willing to pay. And that
Right.
just goes to show you, like you just have to like just work on your craft and don't worry too much about whether you're official or not. That'll come eventually, but at the
Right.
same time, the organization needs to put in a little bit of effort to kind of just promote that, so that you might have some people who were discouraged because they didn't make any sales, right? But it's like it it pushes them to try a little bit better, and when they do become official, they may make sales because of
Right. Okay. Um, well, I think we've gone over like the media and kind of the money side of it, I think to an extent. But what are some things for people to be mindful of, like if they're at the track, like maybe somebody who's been a spectator and they want to show up, they want to sign up for media and hopefully get media for a track day. What do you think is, like good versus bad etiquette when you're at the track, especially in a media position?
that. I think you should always, you mean maybe not always, but I think it's a good idea to if there's official media, it's a good idea to go say hi to the official media. Just introduce
Sure.
yourself, right? Make Let them, because I'm not like this, but I know a lot of people who are like this, who are very territorial, right? Your presence
Mhm.
does not make them comfortable because to them, that's their livelihood. They're doing
Yeah.
that, right? Where it's like if you show up, you're a threat to them.
Right.
Introduce yourself. Make sure that you're let them know that just like you're not harmful. You're just there to just chill, have fun, right? Um, they may ask you of something, right? Whatever that may be, like that. At least you have a good communication there. And to be honest, that's how you get in. Is you if you're nice or you just get to know the official photographer, one day if they're not sick, if they're sick or something, or if it's an event that they can't cover,
Right.
they may reach out to you. Like that's what I'm doing right now. Like I'm looking for people to cover events that I might not be at, right? Where it's kind of like
Right.
I don't
Right.
know, and it's like I'm trying to think about people who may have said hi to me or have
Sure.
a certain standard of quality. And it's like I want them because they were nice enough to come say hi just because, right?
Yeah.
And it's I guess another one is a big one is when you do become official and there's like a lot of people, let's say the grassroots, let's say drifters of December,
Okay.
before you get to a point, and there's someone there, if there's another photographer like where you're kind of in the area where you want to be, and they were there first, be mindful. Like they were there first. Don't get in front
Yeah.
of them. Don't get in their way. Watch their angle. Just it only takes like a split, like maybe a second.
Yeah.
maybe a run or two. If you can see that they're painting from like this point to this point, they stop there. Don't go stand in the spot where you're in their point.
Yeah.
It's it happens more often than
I
not,
know,
and
that's why I'm laughing.
it's actually really bad, right? I don't experience that at ASRA because, like I said, I limit it so
Yeah,
that can't happen. But at drift
yeah,
events, it's very obvious, right? And it's okay. Like if you catch someone who's like a media person who's kind of far away, it's which that's whatever. But like if you're standing next
yeah.
to someone, like you're within the same vicinity of like 20 yards, 20, more like 15, 10 yards, and you go and stand in front of someone, don't do that. That's how
It's
people.
such a pet peeve.
Yes, like that's like one of the biggest issues currently, in my opinion, when I barely shoot drifting, and it's one of
Yeah.
them.
So what I do in that situation for like an extra thing, a layer of what you can do is I talk to whoever's in the box before I get to the box if I have to be in a box situation. Or if we're on the same hill, I'll be like, all right, guys, here's what I would like to get. What are you guys shooting? Can you go low and I can go high? Do I need to go low so you can go high? If I stand back here, whatever it is. And then I track and go, okay, yeah, I can get what I want from here. I have a whole out conversation with everybody. And for the most part, like everybody's just like, Dawn, just shoot what you want. We'll shoot around you. And I'm like, you sure? I was like, because I'm willing to work with you most part, as long as you're willing to have that open communication, I think it's fine. That actually happened to me at DoD. I had been in a spot for a hot minute, but I was because I was taking video and doing the whole run of the video. You're trying to grab as much information in that video as you possibly can. You don't want 10 seconds of video if you can help it. You want like 30 seconds of video. So you're trying to grab as much of the run as you can. Well, then you're catching this run, somebody's head, and then you're catching the rest of the run. That happened to me a couple of times, and it's just like, all right, it's just time for me to move into another spot because there's just no point in trying to work with what's happening in the current situation.
No, that's exactly what it is. That's also what happens when you get to know people as well, be other media
Hmm.
members or other media who are around. Like you're not afraid to like, hey, or interact with them, right?
Right.
Like I've known you for a while. I've known Don for quite a while, and use Don as an example because he shoots Azra stuff a lot, and then he shoots Drift Nirvana. And whenever we're in like the same vicinity, I always make sure like I'm not in your way, am I?
Yep.
Or like I know that the angle that he's shooting, like I know that he stops here,
Yep.
then I'll stand like outside of that, and I might stand a little bit behind just because, right? But it's
Yeah.
just the small simple things, right? Like that's how you like don't make it so that other people will have a reason to dislike you. It's
Yeah.
not it's a small world, and it's
It's
especially in the
easy to
media
do.
world. Yeah, it's easy to do, and you don't and it's not, and even if like you don't have the intentions of being that person, right? You may be viewed as that. And
Right.
in the media world, you don't want that at the very least. Like you don't want like multiple people
Sure.
thinking that you're at work because you unfortunately decided to stand here. Let's just be a little
Right.
just be mindful and
It's just courtesy. It's common
Mhm.
courtesy, and it's like with anything. It's like just kind of like think through your surroundings,
Yeah.
and are you in the way? Are you not in the way? And a lot of times, like if I have to be in a box, like the last event I went to this year was a couple weekends ago, and they had three box situations set up and I was in one by myself for a while, and then I had three other people, and I'm like, all right, guys, I've been here for a hot minute. I'll swap out who wants in, and then that person goes into that spot. I took the spot they were just standing in to get a different perspective. I think everybody's really willing to work with that as long as you're willing to have the conversation. But I think the other thing that comes along with being creative a lot of times is kind of like what you said at the beginning is you're kind of an introvert. You have to talk to people, but a lot of people don't really want to. Like they just want to go do their creative thing and get out.
Yep.
I tell Kobe all the time, I call him Mr. Hit It and Quit It Media because he comes in, he says hi, but he never says bye. He comes in, he shoots, and then he's kind of like,
I
where did you go?
He is the same as I am, where it's just like I may tell you hi, But if I don't see you, I'm not gonna tell you bye. I'm leaving, you know?
Yep.
And that's just the way it is, and I get it, like you're putting yourself in, you know, I guess you could say you're putting yourself I wouldn't even call it situations, but like in in areas where you wouldn't normally be, like having to communicate with people. And
Sure.
you don't necessarily have to, right? If you don't want to, but just like it's common sense. Like don't stand in the line of sight of someone, especially if the
Yeah.
person is like, especially if the person was there before you were. That's all that matters. Like
Yeah.
if you ask me, for example, like if you ever see me and you ask me to like, hey, can I shoot this spot? I will just move. But yeah, sure, it's all
Yeah.
yours, right? That's to be honest, that's the biggest like that's the biggest like track etiquette, like that that stems from grassroots. Because if you shoot more officially on like the side of like Azra or something like that, or like Imza, there's going to be a lot of photographers, maybe, but a lot of them are like they'll get out of your way. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
won't come and like stand right next to you side to side. Um, they'll get out of your way, or there's just not enough media there for you to like maybe even see each other very often,
Right.
right? And it is what it is. Like I get it. Like you're trying to get the shot that you want to get, but if you want a shot and the person's standing in your spot, just ask them. Like, hey, can I shoot this for a few rounds or a few runs
Right.
just to kind of get my shot? It's okay to
Sure.
ask. It's just you don't want to be that person where like I don't want I just say I don't want to think like, oh, this person's a jerk because he knew I was here. He came up and stood in my way,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Well, and I don't know about you, but I get in the zone a bit too, and because I actually pull my camera up to my face, I'm not using a monitor or the screen on the back. I might feel the fact that there's somebody around me, like I can tell there's probably somebody in proximity, but I don't know who it is, and I'm so dialed in on paying attention to the track because I know that's where the thing is gonna get me if I'm not careful, that I may not know somebody's standing right beside me anyway unless I bump into them.
I mean that's true. I might do that sometimes, but if I do spot them, my number one thing I normally always ask is, hey, are you shooting photos or videos?
Yep.
Because shooting photos, you're normally only shooting a certain angle. You're
Yeah.
not going to track them all the way around and shoot like an off angle. And then if they're shooting videos, chances are they're shooting the entire angle, right? Because it's completely
Yeah.
different. And if they're shooting video, then I normally angle myself so that they don't ever have to, worry about me being in their shot.
Right.
Yeah. And then, it's chances are you run into people who are more like considerate about that type of stuff. Like, but the thing is, I'm always around the same people, so they know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely have gone to a lot more events just by choice because I like checking new things out. And like something like Grid Life, they let you know up front that they do have official media, like that's theirs specifically. And then of course they've got media that have come with a driver, or they've got media that's reporting for an outlet, whatever it is. So they could have, I think Midwest, it was Lime Rock. Lime Rock, they had over 100 media people for the weekend. And well, with as big as the space is, the different types of racing, of course they had over 100 media. But they'll let you know kind of off the break. It's like there's no three strike rule. Don't fuck it up for everyone. Don't do anything dumb and don't die. And then we have official media. If you see this particular vest, they may ask you to move out of the way. And you're going to say, no problem. They set the tone, they set the expectation right off the break. And I really like that. This still probably the best media meeting I have been in so far has been Colleen's media meetings. She's
No,
just
I
so
so I
transparent and direct.
so I agree that especially if you're holding an event that's like big like that. I mean,
Mhm.
in Grid Life, right? So they're always big, but um events where you have like a lot of media, it's kind of like a don't mess up. If you mess up, you're out. Like
Yeah.
like uh, I I don't know their names. I wouldn't name them anyways. But there's, let's just say there were a few instances at Drifters of December where it's kind of like, what are you
Okay.
doing? Right? And
Seen a couple of those.
yeah, and it's like if you think it's a bad if you think it's a bad idea, don't even try it.
Yeah.
Because chances are, like, what you could do is if that was any other event, for example, like if that was at like a Azra event, what they did, they would
Mhm.
be kicked out and banned for life.
Right.
Because it's like that's not something you do ever. Unless you got the okay from like a corner worker that was like, hey, you're
Right.
good, go. Right. But
Yeah.
don't ever do that because you're just making it you are messing it up for not only the other media people, you're messing it up for the people who paid to be there to drift,
Yeah.
right? And those are
Yep.
the mindful things. But it comes and goes. I do like the you know the more strict side of it where it's like you don't mess up. Like if you mess up, you're out.
Yeah.
Because there's too many media people to have to look after. And I get it, it makes sense. Like you're not gonna have people watching over
Yeah.
every single interview, know what they're doing every single time. It's just if don't do it, don't try it, or you're out. And if
Yeah.
and I'm not particularly against like other media people reporting these people either. It's just like,
I'll talk to people.
yeah,
I've done it a couple of times. There's been a couple of events, not even specific to, Drift Nirvana, but there was one event that I was at where it was a little bit more free flow for what we were doing, but there was this guy that was in a spot and I was like I yelled at him the first time. I walked over to him the second time. I was like, I am not yelling at you for the sake of yelling at you. I'm trying to tell you, you cannot stand there. I was like, you're in a path of travel and you're also in a path of spin out and you're paying attention to your camera. You cannot stand there. And he looked at me the second time, like he really wanted to say something to me. And I'm like, I don't know how else to tell this to you because you just cannot do this. And he finally backed up into a different spot. But I know I've been in a couple of positions where I'm like, this is a little sketchy, but I can move fast enough that I might be all right because you can typically see most things coming at you. The problem, I think, sometimes when you're looking through your camera is if you're not tracking something like like for me, if there's two cars and you're not tracking the second car that's behind the first
mm,
one and something goes squirrely, you don't know that something's going squirrely with the second car because you're tracking the first car. That's the
right,
only time I think it can get a little sketchy because for the most part, anything that's gotten squirrely that I was close to, but not exactly close to, but close enough like maybe debris might get me, I saw it happening. So I was already moving because I already saw it coming at me. But there's been an occasional moment where like rocks have flown at me that I wasn't prepared for. And I'm like, wait, what was that? Did I die? Am I okay?
right. And that's also where like track experience matters, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
like that's where like when you review individuals who are official at the very least, you want to make sure that they have at least some degree of like track experience. Because like even
Mm-hmm.
for me now, like it's because I shoot a lot of motorcycle stuff. It's like I stand in the spot and it's like, yeah, I don't think anything's gonna reach me because I'm quite far out.
Right.
It's like you never know. Like let's just say, for example, like anyone who's familiar with turn 3 at Summit Point, Maine, shooting from the outside, there's quite a decent distance. Maybe not for cars, I don't know. But for
Mm-hmm.
motorcycles, normally when you hit the gravel trap, then the bike is going to grenade itself probably.
Right.
Or it's gonna slow itself down to the point where it's like it's never gonna reach you. But I remember one time I shot that turn, a guy low side just means like his bike just kind of slipped under him and it just slid off the track and then it hit the gravel and then it started tumbling
Right.
and it flung a lap timer that was on like
Oh,
right. It flung a lap timer
yeah.
and it flew. I just remember seeing something black flying over my head and I didn't even think anything of it. I was just like, yo, that was crazy. Like I was just like, yo, this guy, I think like he's good, he's fine. The bike is fine, kind of. And
Yeah.
he was like, yo, dude, can you help me find my lap timer? And we were looking for it. I was like, and then like it wasn't until like maybe like a minute later, I was like, you know what? I think I know where it's at. I go back to where I was standing, and this lap timer is like maybe 4 feet behind me. And this
Yeah.
thing was heavy because like the if you motorcycles like that's what they call like a stay, a triple. And that part came off with the bike. along with like the lap timer, and that thing is like
Mm,
maybe like 3 pounds, and it flew like
okay.
maybe 2 feet over my head. I was like, I didn't even think
Yeah.
anything. And it's just kind
Yeah.
of like those are just things, right? Like those are things that you can't control, but then
Yeah.
like but then you think about like other scenarios where it's like you just don't stand in bad spots, right? Like if you know it's a bad spot,
Yeah.
you don't even if they allow it, right? Like just understand that even if they allow it, it's a bad spot no matter what you decide to do. And
Yeah.
you might get some cool stuff, but you're putting yourself at risk.
Yeah. On my list of things I want to do this year, I want to do like at least one like mud or dirt event this year. And it was Shenandoah Circuit when on the bridge portion right before carousel. Sometimes they'll hit the tires on that outside when they go to, fling into the carousel into that first
Mhm.
turn. And I was sitting on top of my vehicle so I could, because I'm short, so I like getting up a little bit higher, and I just feel this thing just pelt me, and I was like, God damn, what was that? And one of my actual like drift friends, it was my friend Matt, and I just like it nailed me in the leg, and all it was just mud and rock, but it nailed me at such a rate of speed. It startled the absolute piss out of me in the process. But I'm like, I'm not bleeding. I'm good. And I went looking. I was trying to figure out what happened.
It's you know
You just never know.
it's so like even when I shoot like Drift Nirvana, right, and I'm shooting the carousel, right, and I'm on the outside of the carousel,
Uh huh.
and I see them drop that rear tire to the dirt. I'm like, yep, I'm turning around, like, and
Uh
it's the same
huh.
concept. Like it's just like they're flinging something at you. You're like, I hope it's not a
Yep.
rock.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
There
it's
was one
just
event that we did where I sat in that strip. You when they do it in what is it, in reverse? I think it was reverse. They were coming around, and then when they were coming through that portion to go up the hill, um, I don't know what it was, but everybody kept dropping off into the grass area, and we just kept getting pelted and pelted and pelted. It's the only time I think I've ever gotten hit that much by debris. I don't remember which event it was, but um, eventually you go, okay, I think I'm good. I'm done. You just call it for
it's
the day.
it's especially when there's like debris, right? Because I remember I shot uh uh nothing serious. It's just like a your typical track day for a motocross. The amount of rocks, I was like, nope, can't do it. I'm too afraid of the I'm too afraid of these rocks hitting my lens. And it's the scariest thing where I'm too afraid of like them flinging a rock at
I
me
get
too. But
it.
it's
I
like
get it.
it's you know, that's just part of it, right? Like part of the
Yeah.
experience. But that's what keeps you going back too.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, yeah, because it's like controlled chaos. You get your little bit of adrenaline for the
Mhm.
week or the month or whatever. You're like, all right, I'm good. And then you
Yeah.
go about your week. All right. Well, we're at the hour mark. We can talk a
Yeah.
little bit longer. Is there anything that is there anything that we haven't touched on that you wanted to talk about for this?
I'm not too sure. Oh, I do have one, right?
Okay.
This happens a lot very often too. Maybe not in the drift world, but just in general
Okay.
for the people who do get more like on the serious side of it. Really, anything that's shooting track related stuff is like, how do I put it into words? Just because you've shot an event doesn't mean that you're invited again. When I say
Okay,
that,
that's fair.
it doesn't mean that in a
I know
bad
what you're
way. It's just
saying.
I'm
I know what you're
saying
saying.
don't show up expecting that you're going to be official. You
Yeah.
still have to go through the same process as anybody else to make sure that you're
Yeah.
approved, right? Every event is different. Even if it's the same organization, you still have to make sure that you're approved for that event.
Yeah.
Their organizations, they might have different standards of approval, but still go through them just because, like, let's say, like, if you shot with me once, right? And I was like, cool, I got you in, blah, 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 we're good to go. The next event, you show up and I have no idea,
Yeah.
right? It's not that I don't want you to be there. It's just like you didn't go through the
Mhm.
process.
Right. And you already have the
right? And I
people
can
that are supposed to
yeah,
be
and
there
and
because
and
you've
I can't get you
already
in. Yeah, I don't wanna disappoint you. I
Mhm.
can't get you in. You're not gonna get the access that you normally do. It's just,
Yeah.
like, just you have to go through the process, right? Like, I have to go through the process, even if I'm
Yeah.
official, right? And it's just be that, and the biggest thing, like we talked about before, is the best people that I've ever shot with or have ever seen, they are the people who always go out and try stuff.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to try stuff. It's okay to mess up, right? Like me, I'll go out and I'll try it. I'll just keep trying. Like, well, this doesn't work, obviously. But then you
Yeah.
don't know, that it doesn't work until you get home and you're looking at all your stuff. You're like, well, that was a waste of
Yeah.
time. Trust me, it's not a waste of
It's
time.
never a waste.
You just learn something that you'll know forever. Like,
Yeah.
well, that obviously didn't work, right? You will back out of that.
Yeah.
The hard part is replicating that environment of being at the track of people drifting, right?
Mhm.
The other big thing is, if you are new to shooting at the track and you've been shooting street stuff, you should probably start shooting stuff during the day, not at evening, not in the morning, during the day. Because
Mhm.
when you're at the track, you don't get to choose the time of lighting. You get what you get.
Yeah.
That's my biggest pet peeve, is like people show up and they're like, "Oh, dude, I'm so good." And in my mind, I'm like, I have no doubt that you are talented
Yeah.
until I see how your stuff looks like at the
Yeah.
track. I know so many people who are so good at, like, weddings, for example, and they also have this thing for like motorsports, and they go shoot motorsports and it looks like trash.
Mhm.
I don't want to sound mean and call it trash, but it just doesn't look good.
I get it. I get it.
It's because they're so used to shooting perfect lighting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can create your own, because the thing is, photographers, videographers, normally professionals on the more on the side outside of the track, where you normally get to choose your lighting. You
Control
normally
everything.
you
Yeah.
control your own lighting. You make your own lighting. At the track,
You
you don't
curate
get
all
to
of
do
it.
that. Yeah, you don't get.
Yeah.
You have to, like, yes, sure, you can choose the angle, but you only get what the lighting gives you. Like,
Yeah.
I know so many people who are from the DMV area who are so good at shooting street stuff for cars, motorcycles, and they go and shoot
Paul
track
Mox
stuff.
says, "What up, friends?" Hi, Paul. I messaged you. It looks like you messaged me back. I'm gonna annoy you later.
Yeah, and there's so many people who are so talented outside of the track, and they go shoot track, and it looks, and they want to get into track officially, and it's like,
Right.
it's not the same, right? And there are some people who have learned that. Like, there are a few people this year, for example, compared to like last year, their stuff looks way better.
Yeah.
And it's because these said individuals have seemed to have caught the grasp of, the lighting isn't as great as they thought that it was. So
Yeah.
they just captured it in a way where it's like, let me get the best lighting that I can, so that when I do edit, it looks good. And
Yeah.
the other part is, editing matters. Like, you have to know how to edit, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like, I know, like, from my own personal experience in the past couple of years, I've had a hard time with consistency, partially because I'm always so willing to try different. But I like the private days that I get to have access to. I'm fortunate to have access to private days rather often. Those are my play days often. Those are
Mhm.
when I'm gonna slow down a little bit. I'm gonna try something different. I'm gonna talk to everybody, be like, "Look, we're gonna get what we get. We're gonna get something. I don't know what it's gonna be." Um, but I know, like, myself, I just started tossing, like, all my video clips up on YouTube because at this point, I'm just like, it's so hard to try to either filter through everything so that you can get stuff to everyone, and then some people reach out, and then they're not even a person that you even get to shoot. Like, DoD is a prime example. You have what, 5 tracks running at the same time? And you're if you stay on main, you're not getting everybody because not everybody's comfortable on main. Most people are terrified of it if they're new to drifting. So they're going to stick to Shenandoah, which we shoot all year long. They're going to stick to, they might try Jefferson out. Well, you only have so much access to Jefferson. So And then, you can shoot hot laps, sure, but you've shot that all year. So the media people want to be over on Maine because they get it once a year. And then you're only going to get so many cars on Maine because not everybody's comfortable driving on it, or they might run it once and they may not run it again. So you got somebody going, "Hey, Dawn, I didn't see you, but did nope, wasn't on that one. I'm so sorry. I love you. I miss you. See you next time." It's
So,
just like
yeah, that's so, like,
like
that's the
you
same thing
can't
with me,
win.
like yeah, that's the same thing with me where it's, like, not many people know me, but the few people that I have shot of, like, they were
Yeah,
excited that I was gonna be a DOD, and it was just like,
sure.
I only shot main because I don't get to shoot main for drifting, ever.
Yeah.
I shoot main for motorcycles all the time, but for
Yep.
main for drifting, it's like it was my first DOD, by the way, right? So,
Oh, okay.
because of that, I was like, I've shot Jefferson, I've shot Washington, right? I've shot Shenny, obviously. So it's like I'm gonna just stay at Maine. And just like you said, like
Sure.
you're gonna have people who weren't comfortable with drifting Maine.
Mhm.
So I had a few people reach out even after like the event. They were like, "Hey, dude, like, did you get any shots of me?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"Sorry, bro. Like, I was at Maine only, dude. It's like if you didn't drift Maine, yeah, I didn't get
Yep.
anything." Dude. And it's just the way it
Yep.
is. Where it's kind of like events that are that big, which is so it comes back to like having that many people who are there for media. I'm not against that when you
Yeah.
have that many events or that many tracks to drift on, right? Like
Yep.
that makes sense. But I do believe that you should at least have a writers meeting or a media's meeting. But I get the reason why
I
they,
shared that. I shared that, by the way. I
yeah,
haven't been shot as the messenger yet, but I shared that information.
yeah. So I get the reason why they did what they did, but
Yeah.
because of the amount of media, they should have had one. That's more of
And
a
new
reason
media.
to have. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more
Agreed.
so. It's more so just to keep people in check and let them know, like, even if people break rules, at least they know what the rule is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, and like even for myself, I one of the things that I realize I've been trying to take some of this downtime. Every time we hit winter, I'm like, all right, what's the new thing I can try for this year? What's something different that I can do? Whatever. And I realized when I started looking at my export settings, I've gotten stuck at shooting at like 120 frames because with drifting, you always want to be able to slow your footage down at some point, right? Because very often everybody loves the slow mo stuff. And I'm like, but how often do I actually do slow mo stuff? Because I'm tired of looking at slow mo stuff because that's what everybody puts out on social media. I get tired of looking at it. So I just don't really contribute to it that often, just occasionally. Um, so I think I'm going to try the cinematic route a little bit more this year, but I suck at it. So that's actually why I messaged Paul earlier because I wanted to pick his brain. I want to try to do like a little bit more like documentary this year, I think, versus just
Mhm.
going to shoot everything. I want to be a little bit more intentional or more like vlog or documentary style. And I think that's the biggest thing sometimes with this media stuff is it's really easy to become the bulk photographer or the bulk video person, and that's all you do is you shoot everything you can, hoping that somebody will pay you for it. And I didn't promote myself for DoD this round because the van ate a deer, and then I was trying to get all that sorted out, and I got it sorted out all right before DoD so that I could show up. So I didn't go, "Hey guys, book me ahead of time," like I normally would have. So my approach to Drift Nirvana this year was just, or DOD, I should say, not Drift Nirvana, but my approach to DOD this year was just, I'm going to go have fun with my friends. We're going to see what I get. We're going to get what we get, and then I'll put something out. I don't know what that something's going to be, but it's going to be something. Um, versus shoot, 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 and then talk to everybody after.
So sometimes it's better to just approach things like that. So
Yeah.
there's one thing that I should also bring up is like sometimes the 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 monetary value to your effort and the time is not worth it. It's
Yeah.
better to just have fun sometimes, and then the monetary stuff that comes
Comes
along with
eventually.
it
Yeah.
is like whether how much it is worth it afterwards, right? I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I've been offered to be flown out to go cover like a Motor America round for like a specific team. And I just don't want to do it because it's like the trouble that I have to go through, the amount of money that they're willing to pay, which isn't like it's not like it's like chump change. but it's also
Yeah,
not enough where it's like, if I have to be gone for this amount of days, I have to do all this, I have to go through, traveling and stuff. I'd rather just
right.
go to Summit Point and shoot a track day. It's you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like, I live
sure.
close enough and I might, I'll make a certain amount of money and it's like it'll cancel out, right? But
Yeah,
in regards to what you just said too, it's just like you just, you know, kind of just it is what it is. Like just don't,
yeah,
like just enjoy yourself sometimes. Like
sure. Well, I think
that and
that's what
the
I've learned from it.
Mhm.
Good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
Oh,
you.
no, I was just gonna say in regards to like how to film and stuff, like the 120 frames, like be intentional. Like if you know that you want something for slow mo, film at 120. Like
Right,
I used to be like you, where I used to just film at 120 all the time because it was like I'm
sure.
just gonna, and it's sometimes it's okay. You do 120, and as long as you put on the 24 frame timeline and you export at 24, it still looks okay.
Right,
But the but the video looks completely different if you filmed it at 24 frames per second.
right.
Like when I want to make someone to anybody who might be watching, anybody who's slow and who rides motorcycle and is slow and they want video, if I want them to look fast, I'll film them at 24 frames per second. They look
Okay,
fast no matter what. Even in
right,
drifting, like it looks there's that cinematic look to it, right? I don't want to use the term
right.
cinematic because that's just so overblown, but it
Agreed.
has a very specific look to it when you film any drifting, any motion like motorsports at 24 frames. It's completely different.
Yeah.
But if you had intentions of doing slow mo, you're not going to be able to do slow mo. So it's kind of like you have to
No.
be intentional, right? And that's
Yeah.
where that's where like the biggest thing comes from is like definitely that where the thing that you want to try to do more to improve on. It's that. It's the
Right.
ability to know when or what to use at 24 frames and 120. It looks completely different. And they in that 24 frames when you nail that shot, it looks real good. I can't
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to tell people because some people can't tell the difference between them, but I can.
Yeah.
It's so obvious and it looks real good.
Well, and I think the thought process behind it is, and I think a good example would be that video of Bello when he came through the carousel and then did the 360 as he came up from it. If
Mhm.
I hadn't shot that at 120, I couldn't have slowed that down to show everybody
Exactly.
what he actually did. And it's
Mhm.
not like I have that opportunity every time or every time somebody drifts there. So I think that's why it's been kind of the general rule of thumb is like, probably going to want to slow something down. But what I realized was I was shooting at 120, I was exporting at, I think it was 30 frames per second, but I always feel like my footage just looks grainy no matter how I do anything. Like to me, it just looks muddy no matter what I'm doing. Now, whether that's because I'm doing something in edit, whether that's my export, whatever it is, just never like the output of my video eventually when I shoot for my main camera. When I'm using
Mhm.
like the action cameras and stuff, like they do all the work for me truly. Like there's not a hell of a lot I have to do to that footage, which is one of the reasons I like the action cameras. But when I shoot with the Nikon, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I really love this." And other times I'm like, "God, why does this look like ass?" I'm just like, "What do I need to do differently?"
Well, I think and so, obviously there's a combination of things that it could
Yeah.
be, right? But I think the other thing is also just knowing that like, oh, it doesn't look as good as I want it to, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what matters too is being able to accept that this isn't up to my standards. And even though
Right.
the shot itself might look good, still a shot that you got, which is already
Yeah.
amazing. But it's knowing that deep down inside you're not satisfied with it. Like whether
Right.
it be the quality itself, the shot itself, it's knowing that makes the biggest difference. Which unfortunately a lot of people don't have the ability of knowing.
That's fair. Well, it kind of goes back to what you were saying before about, like starting shooting weddings and then deciding that, you're going to do like motorsports. I shot people before I got to motorsports, and I always say my people
That's right.
photography is better
You
than my
did portraits and
motorsports
stuff.
photography.
Right, right, right.
And I did underwater as well too, which is still one
Mhm.
of my favorite things to do. And that I think because I like the challenge in editing. But when you're editing photo versus editing video, the tools, they sound the same, but they don't function the same. You know, masking is very different in video
Mhm.
than it is when you have that one flat photo that you get to work with and you can move around and all the fun things. Um, but something that you said about lighting, I hate lighting with a passion. And I
Same.
learned that very early on in doing portraits. I was like, "Can I just have sunlight? Like, can we just have that? Like, I like that." And they're like, "Oh, you just don't know lighting, you know." I was like, "No, it's not that. I can use it. I've used it and I understand why you like it, but I fucking hate it." And like, I want to be in the space where the sun is. Can we go there?
So I'm the
And
same. I dislike lighting a lot. Like
yeah, I hate it with a
it's like
passion.
the whole like soft boxes, you're bouncing lighting off all this. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
Mhm.
I'd rather just do natural lighting and
Yeah.
deal with that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it goes back to kind of what we're talking about, like on not return on investment, but return on time. I think sometimes when you get to fidgeting with the lighting and like changing it up and reminding your model that they need to face the light or whatever it is that you're looking for, I think when you're constantly fiddling with that, like it's just detracting from the fact that you could keep moving through the process instead of constantly rearranging where if you're dealing with sunlight, you just have to rearrange their body. You know what I mean? Because you know where your
Yeah.
light source is at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Are you dealing with shadows as well too? Which is sometimes the thing that I forget even at the track sometimes is I have a spot that I might like and I go, "Oh, this is the wrong time of day for this spot." And then I'm like, "All right, where do I actually need to be for where the sunlight is right now?" And that took a minute to learn as well too. I'm like, "Ah, I can't even take the shadow out of this and like not make it look like it sucks or it doesn't suck." I was just talking to Dan Danimal. I was talking to him the other day about his polarizer because the first DoD that I did, it was such a shit weekend for me that weekend. But I learned that my lens didn't like stacked filters. I didn't like filters at all. I
Mhm.
haven't tried just a polarizer, but I had the ND and the polarizer, and
Okay.
my autofocus was trash, and I was getting so frustrated with it, and then it took me a minute, and I went, "Wait a minute." I took the filter off and guess what was fine? The autofocus was fine.
Yeah.
Um, I wanna play with manual focus a little bit more intentionally this year, I think, too, because I haven't really done that. I've really, like, let the camera do things because we're always kind of on the go. You know, again, it's that next thing, next
Right,
thing, next
right,
thing,
right.
next thing.
Mhm.
Um, so I haven't played with the idea of actually using the manual focus, and I'm trying to do more with photo this year, but photo doesn't feel like anybody cares about it anymore. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but we've switched over to be so video consumption that nobody seems to care about photos quite as much anymore. Or at least that's what I've seen so far.
So you're not wrong there in the sense that I think the way social media is going and has been going normally revolves around video. Photos
Mhm.
still get a lot of love though, but photos have become a thing where it's like the photo itself has to be a banger. And
Yeah.
because of
Agreed.
that, it's also presented like this weird like expectation that
Mhm.
media thinks that they need to do, and that's the only thing that they think they need to do.
Sure.
Where you might have media people where like I'm not saying that you shouldn't get a banger. I'm talking about yeah, you should get a banger, but at the same time,
Sure.
like photos wise, it should be more than like a couple bangers of someone, and that's it. I'm not
Right.
saying that you need to shoot like 60 photos of one person, but it's not just one banger of one person and calling it a day. That's not how media makes photos.
Right.
It's not
Right.
right. It's not like there's a lot of misconception there, right? Like that might be the case, right? If you're shooting for a team, they might only want a few bangers, but they're gonna ask for a lot of bangers so that they can choose out of
Yeah.
all those bangers. It gets complicated in that sense, right? But I feel like a lot of people who are trying to make it big, they think that it's just like you show up to the event, shoot like four really good photos, and you call it a day. No, not even close.
Right. I
Right?
always overshoot, and I know I overshoot
I
just for the
I do
simple
the
fact
same
that
thing.
especially if you're doing panning shots, if you don't overshoot, you're gonna be lucky if you have one photo. You know what I mean? And then it's then I go ahead.
I was gonna say, speaking of panning shots, anybody who is listening, right? If you're doing panning shots, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're just now starting, or you're about to start, or you want to start. You either have to start with a flagship mirrorless camera, or just stick with DSLR. Until then, don't don't start with like a Z50 trying to shoot photos, or like a or like a you know just either needs to be a flagship or it needs to be a DSLR, because blackout is real, and the difference between a blackout, the experiencing blackout is like you're tracking something. There's like a huge black screen that separates your photo that you take compared to the
Yeah,
next one. It's almost like a
it's a
screensaver.
delay.
It's hard to explain. Yeah, it's a huge delay. You lose track of your target within like 2 shots.
Mhm.
Whereas like a DSLR won't do that to you. Mirrorless nowadays is just the only difference is they can handle video stuff a lot better, especially if you're on
Right.
Nikon, because Nikon was trash with video. And speaking of Nikon, we're both on Nikon, dude, mirrorless right now. But I just want to throw that out there because I've stuck with Nikon forever, and you know,
Well, you shot Sony for a while until what the 9 or the 8 came out, right?
so yes, so I was on the D850 for Nikon DSLR for the longest for a while. I was on a D500. I went to D850, and then I waited because I normally shoot video, and I've always shot video on Nikon, even on DSLR. I just shot it with manual focus,
Okay.
and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait for like an actual dedicated video camera, which today now is the ZR, but they came out what last year. So
Yeah.
I waited and I waited, and I was like, you know, I'm not getting this camera from Nikon, so I'm just gonna go ahead and just buy a Sony FX30,
Right.
which was amazing, by the way. And then I sold the FX30 for FX3, and then I was like, why am I? And then obviously I upgraded to the Z8, and I was like, the Z8 is actually
Right.
really really amazing for video. So I was like, so why am I
Do you
keeping anything with
use
the Sony?
do you use the 3D function on the Z8? The 3D tracking?
So it varies on what type of
Okay.
turn. So like I guess the hardest part about video is if you are using different cameras, it's better to just stick with one system because of this.
Okay.
But like Nikon, like I want to say Nikon's autofocus, for example, is better than Sony's, which is very hard to believe, but you have to know what you're doing with Nikon because you can't just it's
Okay.
not just one for all. You have to constantly change your settings. Because with Nikon, it's like you have 3D focus, right? But then you can also change like the range of like the focus. You can change the type
Right.
of like do you want it to focus on the human, vehicle,
Yeah.
right?
Continuous. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then like even outside of the 3D, you have all those other functions. And it's like if you know what you've the more you use it, the more you know
Right.
what works and what doesn't, right? Whereas Sony is a little bit more like I wouldn't call it a free for all that makes it work, but it's more willing to work that way. Whereas
Okay.
Nikon is a little bit more specific where you have to set it to like a specific setting for motorcycles, for example. Like what works for
Okay.
cars won't work for motorcycles because it's too fast, too small,
Right.
and it's vice versa. Like it's just
Yeah, I will say I think that's the thing I've probably fought with the most with my Z6 too has been figuring out how to make the autofocus work for me best, which I think is why I want to try doing manual this year. Not necessarily for video, but for photo, for like the panning shots, because I haven't done much with the panning shots until like the end of last year, beginning of this year. Um, because again, it's one of those things where like it always feels so overdone. It feels like everybody's doing it constantly. I was like, is this really what I want to do? But then when I started playing with it, I'm like, all right, I get why everybody likes it. I know that everybody likes the motion of it. Sometimes I like the stop motion. I want to see all the crispy lines and like all the things and the grit of the
mhm.
car and the details. Um, but I think I want to be a little bit more intentional this year and not feel like because I get free access to an event, I have to shoot everything. And I think that's where I've been living like the past year and a half is it's just like, oh, well, I'm at the event. I have to shoot every single thing that goes past me. Must shoot, must grab
Mhm.
information. Um, and actually, I don't think he's on Instagram at the moment. He was live with us, or not live. He was in the chat with us earlier. Mopar Travis Snyder, with the Black Betty. I'm gonna do Drift Week with him, but we're doing Hyperfest first, and like we're leaving Hyperfest early to then go all the way up Midwest, North Midwest,
Mhm.
to do Drift Week for 2 weeks. So I'm probably gonna be on the road for about 2.5 weeks, but fuck it. You know what I mean? Because it's just like if we're just here for the experience at this point, I might as well, go for the experience and check it out. And with something like that, I can kind of shoot whatever I want because he doesn't care as long as he gets something out of the deal. And I don't care because I get to check out a new event and tracks I haven't been to yet.
It's the experience is all that matters. Like if you get,
Absolutely.
considering how long you'll be shooting for, like because the amount of time you get to shoot, you're gonna get something that's good. That's all that matters.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. All right. Well, we're at an hour and a half. I feel like we've covered probably everything we can for the discussion that we're actually having. You know, don't don't die. Be considerate. That's about all we got.
Yeah, I mean, it's very simple, right? I get it. If you're especially if you're your new media, and I call it common sense, but like I get it. You might want to try something. Don't try it. Just just be cookie cutter, but be creative about being a cookie cutter. Just
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay if your shots
Be
don't look the greatest, but that's what time. That's what the experience is for you. You go out and you
yeah.
keep doing it, and you get better. That's all. It is.
Well, and I think too, I think it's really easy to get caught up in sticking to the social media trends too, because, I see that a lot. Like there's a very particular, like, I'm going to say car guy style of even video where it's like 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, where like you're switching from this part of the event, this part of the car, that part of the car, the helmet, like, and then eventually to me that's the thing that looks the same over and over again because it's the same trend style of edit, no matter whether the footage is good enough or good, good enough or not, or like really really good. It's like you start seeing the same thing over and over again. And I think that was when I shifted a little bit because I started out doing that as well too. I'm like, all right, well, let me copy this thing and see if I can learn how to do the edit. And then after
Mhm.
that, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I can do my own thing now. I figured out how to do that edit. We'll use that somewhere.
And I think that's what it should be don't be afraid to do something different.
Yeah,
Like, like I know, for example, like my edits are a lot different compared to people who normally shoot Drift Nirvana.
fair.
And then, I mean, not many people shot videos before I started shooting Drift Nirvana. And
Yeah.
it's okay to be a little bit different. You don't have to follow the
Mhm.
trend. And just like you said, people get kind of caught up in like the whole social media stuff too, where it's like, um, the likes and stuff is like a huge dopamine, and it's
Well, it's
okay.
tough. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
okay,
tough
but like
because
don't be discouraged just because your post only
yeah,
got like 3 likes or like 10, 15, 20, whatever, right? It's okay. But what matters is that if you know you're putting out quality, that's all that matters. So someone's gonna notice.
right.
Because I'll tell you this right now,
Yeah.
I'm really bad at social media to the point where like I probably should have more followers and stuff, but I don't because I just don't care. And people reach out, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying that I'm the greatest, but I do know that I do have stuff that is decent. And if you shoot decent stuff, and especially if you go to like bigger events for like drifting events and stuff,
Mhm.
there's more opportunities in drifting than there is for motorcycles. I'll tell you that right now.
That's fair.
Like sure, it's more saturated, but if your stuff stands out more, you're gonna be noticed more. You know.
One of the things I have found interesting is that the media is across all spaces, including a lot of media people, even in FD, they don't get paid. Their expenses might get covered, but they're not necessarily getting paid for their boots on the ground time, their edit time, all that sort of stuff. And people will take that opportunity because they hope that that opportunity leads them to a different opportunity regardless of whether they get paid or not. And I think that's the cycle that happens with media very often is it's like, all right, well, you have to network, and then that networking eventually gets you to another space or another person or a team or whatever it is. And some things are funded well enough that they can afford to have media people. Some things are just getting off the ground, so they're doing the collaborative thing, or just expenses are being covered. And I think it's a tough lesson to learn when you see it in the thing that's supposed to be the bigger thing. Like if you're seeing it there, then you're like, what's the point? And I think that's why we see such turnover a lot of times is that the sport doesn't necessarily support the thing that it needs to make sure that people know the sport exists. It's very odd. That's why I said it's
Well,
so convoluted sometimes what
I
I
want,
see.
yeah, I want to say that's the case because there's such a huge saturation of
Mhm.
media. So it's like even if you're the photographer, if you're like the main photographer or one of the main ones, and someone's shooting as a spectator, and that one spectator is just so happens to be like a beast, and
Mhm.
he's posting stuff for free, and he's willing to give teams like, oh, this photo you can have,
Mhm.
it's fine, like you can share, you can use it
Yeah.
for commercial. Then why would anybody care about your work if this person's stuff is better or just as good
Yeah.
and it's free? And
Yeah.
that's where like when I tell people like if you want to get good and you are focused on getting good, that's all that matters. Like don't let other people encourage you. And by the way, since I'm on this topic of being good and stuff, don't be afraid to admire other media people and don't dislike them because of it. Just because they're
Yeah.
competition doesn't mean that you have to dislike them.
Yeah.
It is so weird that some of the like the drama that comes from media because one person's beefing with the other because of some weird reason. Don't do that. Just like for example, when people call me a professional photographer, I don't even consider myself a professional because the term professional to me is not whether I make money or not.
Right.
The term professional is the type of quality that they're producing. Like I have some really good friends who are way better than me. And it's like, how could I call myself the professional
Right.
if their stuff is so much better than mine? You know what I'm talking about? And
Well,
they're
it's
only
it's
friends because I don't view them as threats or anything. They are people I've actually
right.
asked, like, dude, how like for example, like my buddy Dustin from Fast Last,
Mhm.
he normally does a lot of Moto America stuff. When I first got into the Sony system, I asked him how what his autofocus settings were because I was like, I don't understand
Right.
any of this, right? Kind of like how you're
Yeah.
asking me like what autofocus stuff. I was like, he was like, this is how you do it, blah 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 blah. He's like, well, obviously you have to go out and test it out until you figure it out to see what it does.
Right.
Someone of that level, like I had never thought that they would have like even given me the light of the day to give me any information on how to get better,
Right.
right? But the people who don't view you as a threat, the people who just want you to get better, those are the people that matter. Like, and it's that's what I try to do. It's like when people ask me for help, I try to give them help, but it's like at the same time, I tell them in the end, you still got to go out there and test it to make sure that to see what it
Yeah.
does, right? Because if you don't see what it does, then you won't know.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I remember when I was doing people photography, probably about my first year in, I never gave myself a title, kind of like what you were talking about, like people were referring to you as professional. And I never gave myself that title. I was just like, I do photography, I do this thing, whatever it is, I do freelance work. Now it's what I usually refer to it as, is I just do freelance work because it's a portion of what I do under my business. It's not all of what I do under my business. And I had kind of the same thing. I'm like, am I one? Okay, maybe. Like you just kind of have a conversation with yourself because you're like, I didn't give myself the title, but somebody gave it to me. Um, but when people come to me for information, I'm usually very free flowing with it. And then I go, wait, am I qualified for this? I'm like, am I qualified to give this person any information? So I'm usually like, so in my experience, this is how I've done it. Doesn't mean it's right.
No,
But
that's generally
I
how it goes.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying though too, because I've seen it happen where, you know, oh, this person that and this person this, and you're just like, can I have friends? I'm like, can I just be friends with people? Like, does it have to be because you don't like them that I'm not supposed to like them? Like, I mean, it happens to me with drivers actually. I have some people that I openly support that people don't agree with the fact that I should because of who they used to be or how they used to handle business. I'm like, yeah, but they're not doing that now. So we're not giving them an opportunity to adapt and adjust and learn from behaviors and change those things. We're just automatically just supposed to be like not okay. And I don't know, sometimes it's frustrating because it feels like being back in high school occasionally, and
It's
and
it's
your
just
your your statement's kind of the same.
it just makes the atmosphere like feel weird.
It's uncomfortable,
Like
yeah.
you don't want it to feel that way for anyone, right?
Yeah.
Because like if you're a mutual friend and this other person is like a someone that you may not like, but that I like, then I feel weird, right? It's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And it's like just don't do that. And that's the whole point of media is the drifting media, especially in certain areas, right? Like northeastern
Mhm.
areas and southeast. It's a lot smaller in terms of like the community. Like it's saturated, but it's like it's a small community within like who knows who. Like
Right.
where you've seen this person's stuff before, likely. And it's like
Yeah.
you disliking them because for some weird reason, right? It just creates a weird atmosphere. Like, don't like
Yeah.
unless you have a legitimate reason to, right? But
Yes.
if it's okay to admire someone and not dislike them,
Yeah.
like it's very common in the motorcycle media world where people
Okay.
beef with each other for some weird reason,
Hmm.
and it's just weird. It's a weird thing, and it's like I just if you like their stuff, get to know them, get to talk to them. Like
Right.
they might have information that's like that might help you improve. They might try.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is, if I help this person improve and they get better than me, it just means that I have someone that I could get. I try to improve and try to be
Sure.
better than, right? And I think those type of people are the people that you should like people in general should try to be around is people who encourage you to get better based off of their quality of work and not people who enable you if your quality of work is not that good and they tell you that it's good. Like,
I think that's the hard part when it comes to creative things a lot of times. And
mhm,
that came up on one of my other lives, which is part of the reason I wanted to do an etiquette one, was the fact that we have a tendency to gas people up because we want them to keep going. We want them to keep doing the thing. Even if their stuff's not great right now, we know that they're going to continue going. So, you want to continue supporting them. Sometimes that backfires. If you're not, if it's just like, oh, yeah, that's awesome, that's one thing. But, like really gassing something up or really overinflating how great something is when maybe it's just good, maybe it's not good. And that's what we've seen a lot here lately is stuff's really not that good, but we're like people are really, really encouraging and supporting it. And then other people are going, should we be doing that? And then we're like, wait, is it our place to say anything? It's not really. This has nothing to do with us. But then at the same time, it's like, does this affect us? I feel like this affects us.
so
You know what
this is
I
gonna be
mean?
that is 1% true. This is gonna be very controversial. I'm gonna say it anyways because I'm going to
Okay,
be transparent about it.
do it.
They say that there's no wrong or right way of creating art, right?
Sure.
Which I 100% agree. However, there is a good and a bad one.
Fair.
So in this particular case, where like you're hyping other people up, like let's say like for example, like if we'll use Don Campbell because I've known Don for a while. If he does something that's like really bad, I'll let him know.
Yeah.
And it's more so because like I know what Don is capable of. I've seen his work,
Yep.
and it's like I won't let him do it. Like for example, like if he posts stuff on Azra, like on Instagram, that I don't think that looks good, he's not getting in collaboration.
Yeah, but I think you guys have enough of a working relationship that he knows and he understands. That's why I'm so big on transparency. I would
Right,
much
right.
rather be honest with somebody, and I think that's valued a little bit more. I just think people are afraid to do it.
No, no, no. You're not wrong there. Like because when you are the person who's trying to be more transparent, it comes off as like being
I'm an
like a
asshole.
punk. You're an asshole. You're a punk.
I'm an
You're
asshole.
not respectful. Right? And it's like sometimes like constructive criticism can come off that way. And
Yeah.
for example, like what's his name? I don't know his name. I don't even remember his Instagram. Uh it's like WK or is it WD40? He's a photographer.
Mm,
His stuff has gotten really good this year or this past year. And by really good, I mean like it's light years better than a lot of people who show up to Drip Nirvana. And it's a
mhm.
huge gap. It's not like it's a little bit better. It's a huge gap, right? And that's stuff that like I like to see. But then you have a lot of people, and I get it, it's fine. Like, people it's they're shooting photos. Some people don't even care about their quality, which is fine. But then there are
Yeah.
some people who hype their own stuff up and then other people encourage it. And it's just like you said, where I saw part of that live where you guys were talking about like the
Mhm.
hyping, the hyping and the to some extent that is a little bit too much because you're enabling the person to not
Yeah.
to accept that their stuff is
They're not
good.
growing. They're not gonna
They're
grow
not
because
gonna
they think
grow.
it's already fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part is the person themselves able to distinguish if their stuff is actually a decent
Right.
quality or not. And that's where I was saying like the best quality to being a photographer is being humble about your own work. Because
Yeah.
if you're humble about your own work, your stuff will get good and it'll get good fast. Whereas like if you are around people who might enable you a little bit, it might take a while before your stuff starts to get a little bit better, if at all.
Right.
Yeah, and it's hard because you don't want to be that person. You don't want to be that mean or like some like where you come off
Yeah.
mean, right? Like I have a friend, her name is Faith. She goes by the name of Full Throttle Visuals.
Okay.
She started shooting uh well she really started shooting more seriously last year,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't let her upgrade the body on camera or anything. I told her, no, if you're gonna come up under me, you have to use what you currently have, and you are not until I tell you that it's okay to upgrade, because you need to learn how to
Mhm.
shoot first before you upgrade your body, which is only going to allow you to
Right.
shoot more photos, right? You're only going to create more work for yourself. But
Right.
like every single time she posted something that, or share something with me that wasn't good, I would just tell her straight up, "That's not nope." And it's just like, but then that's the difference though. Is like I know her, right? Where like
Right.
someone where you're close to, you can be a little bit more
Yeah.
direct, more more truthful about, more transparent. Where in a public setting, you probably I wouldn't say can't you probably shouldn't because then you're gonna look like a dick in their
Yeah.
mind. And I
Well,
get
I
it.
I think I think that's kind of where I've come to with it is if somebody asks me, I will be honest. And I usually tell
Mhm.
people like, look, don't ever ask me a question unless you want what I actually think. Um, and interestingly enough, that's always gone over well because I think people appreciate the fact that you're just letting them know out the gate. But I don't think I would really go to somebody and be like, oh my God, this is awful. Like, I don't think I would do that. But if somebody actually asked me a direct
Mhm.
question about something, I'm going to be honest about it. Whether, hey, it's not my speed, but I know other people like it because there's some photos that like I'll see something on Instagram and it'll have like it's like a photo set of like 6 photos and they're all blown out whites or whatever, but there's like 500 people liked it. And I'm like, I don't understand. And then and I'll go, well, it's just not my photography. It's not what I find appealing, but obviously 500 other people did. Now, is that
Mhm.
because 500 other people actually like the photos or because 500 people out of 500,000 followers liked the person? And that's the thing that I think sometimes we have to remember with social media sometimes is that popularity makes a difference too. It's not always about skill and talent sometimes it's about popularity.
Yep.
And we just it's just
I
kind of the
mean
reality of it.
I mean, you can have 5 million followers and get 5,000 likes, and the other person might have, let's say, 100,000 and gets 5,000 likes. The 100,000 did a better job,
Right.
unfortunately. And it's like
Yeah.
you have to look at the ratios and stuff. But
Yeah.
you're right there. Is you have to be careful. And like for if I'm very much like you, where it's like I don't give unsolicited advice. I don't give unsolicited anything.
Yeah.
Some people have thought that I am a punk or a dick because I don't give advice, and it's like, well, I'm not going to give it to you unless you ask, because I'm not going to
Yeah.
go and tell you, well, that you're doing this wrong, because I'm
Yeah.
not.
Maybe you're
I might
not.
think it. I might think it, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it until you ask me. And it's like I'm not going to tell you. It's kind of like for example, when we were at DOD, and you first came up to me, you were asked because you messaged me and I never got back to it.
Yeah.
You had asked me about a question about like a
It's like, you
setting.
don't love me anymore. It's fine.
You'd ask me about a setting, and it was like, and I was more than willing to just give you the answer or something, right? And I
Yeah.
gave you, and I even gave you like the answer, like what happens when you do that, right? And it's like some people aren't willing to even try that to begin with, but like
Right.
the fact that you're trying to find ways to improve, but you're trying to find an answer to what does this do? I need to figure out what this does, right? Or let me
Yeah.
go ask someone who might know what this does. It's like that's the biggest eye opener. Like to me, that is the biggest like green flag you can find in someone who's shooting.
Right.
Because it's like that person wants to learn. They're willing to try stuff. Like
Right.
the reason why this matters so much to me is because shooting at the track is completely different from shooting like portraits and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I feel like you did knowing your camera settings matter more because everything is a lot like in terms of like length and like distance to your subject is a lot more sensitive. And it's a constant moving vehicle coming towards you or away.
Yeah.
And and a lot of people just don't they want the answer. They don't want to find the answer.
Yeah. Well,
And
and I know
that's
like for me, I'm always really honest about I'm a vibe girl. So most of the stuff that I do, I shoot it because I'm like, this seems right in the moment. And I'm not a technical girl. Do I know my basics on my technical stuff? Sure. I can get the camera balanced out, all that sort of stuff. And I know what the functions do, but I don't even really want to think about it because I want to see something and I want to shoot it. And then I have to remind myself that I have to learn all the technical things because if I don't, then I can't get the thing that I want because I don't know how to do the thing that I want because I haven't learned the technical thing. It's just like the SD card that I mentioned. There was no part of my brain that registered that that could have been the issue with my camera until I had a conversation with somebody else and they and what SD card I had in the camera. And I went, never thought about that. Should have probably, but never even crossed my mind. And what was happening was I was getting an error that said that my recording was interrupted. And then I kept thinking it was getting too hot because I think it started not too long into the summer. And I was at an event, sun beating down on the camera. I just assumed the camera was just getting too hot. And as soon as I swapped the SD card out, it's fine. No issues, you
yeah,
know?
it's unfortunately like depending on how you're shooting, what you're shooting, SD cards,
Yeah.
it'll overheat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that and what was happening for me was it wasn't the read and write speed was an issue.
Oh, okay,
Because
yeah.
I just grabbed one out of my bag because I ejected the other one across the van. I still have no clue where that thing went, by the way. Um, and that was what the issue was the SD card couldn't keep up with what the camera was asking of it. So I could only
Yeah.
record for so long before it's like, yeah, I can't do this, and then it would shut itself down or it would shut the video recording down.
Yeah, that's
And
gonna say that becomes a big issue with videos.
yeah, and then, I kept thinking I needed to replace my camera, like, that's how bad it was, and all it was a stupid SD it's kinda like my refrigerator and the fact that it was most likely a sensor that was being covered up. It's just like, it's always something simple sometimes, and it's like you kick yourself for it later.
I mean, it's simple, but it's like one of the things that people kind of look past, really. I mean,
Yeah,
and I don't blame him either. like you would have never really expected that
Mm-mm.
an SD card's write and read speed would affect like the
Yep.
buffering on your camera when you're shooting photos, right?
Well,
Or just
normally
recording at
though,
a quality.
yeah, well, normally though, you would get an error. Like if I put the wrong card into like one of the action cameras, it'll tell me
Mhm.
I need a different card. Like this card isn't going to work. There's literally an error. But my big camera, my big girl camera didn't tell me that. It just kept interrupting the video. But now that I've learned that lesson, I won't unlearn that lesson. Like if it ever happens again, I definitely know
Well,
what
I
to
mean,
check now.
it could also be one of those instances where like your card may initially, like when I say initially, like it may initially like have the specs that are required, but then sustained speeds weren't.
Right.
Right. So it was probably just like, oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. But no. And then the camera's like, yeah,
Yes.
okay, we're just gonna give you what we have. And it's all choppy or something.
Exactly.
Yeah. I guess another thing that I wanted to bring up was I pay attention to people, right? Not that you guys care. I'm just saying, like if I pay attention, other people might pay attention too. You know how when you take a photo of something and it looks super nice and crisp and you're like, oh, that photo's gonna look
Mhm.
dope. And then you get home and you look it up and it's like, yeah, that photo is I'm gonna just delete it.
All right.
And that's it's because of like, you take you're viewing your photo on a small
Yep.
LCD screen, so it's like it's compressed, it looks sharp.
Sure.
And the people who are viewing their photos and their videos, it's the same thing where likely they're viewing it on their phone nowadays. So everything's compressed and it looks nice and sharp until you look it up on a
Yeah.
computer and it's just blurry and nothing's in focus.
Yeah.
For one, personally, that is my worst fear is me selling someone a photo that's not as clear as I think it is. They
Yeah.
go and buy it. They view it and it looks all sharp and crisp because it's on their phone. Then they go and blow it up on like a huge canvas and it's just blurry.
Mhm.
My worst fear. That's why I don't keep anything that's like slightly blurry. Two, that's what Instagram is for. People who post on Instagram, including myself, but I'm just saying, I challenge you to post an actual crisp and clear photo on a big screen onto Instagram. Don't let Instagram compress it so that it makes it look clear because every single photo that I come across for like Drift Nirvana or like Uni drifting event, I
You blow
always
it up.
go and I blow it up and I'm like, that's not in focus. It just looks like it's in focus. And and it's like I said, it's not even a big deal because like the people are viewing it on their phone anyways, or like their
Yeah.
iPad or whatever. So it's going to look compressed and it's going to look great.
Uh-huh.
But to me, it's like the biggest like me as a photographer, it's the biggest pet peeve I have. It's like I could
Yeah.
never do that.
Well, it's interesting that you say that too. For a hot minute with Instagram, I had uploaded a couple of photos. I don't put photos on Instagram much anymore because nobody seems to care. So I just don't put them up much anymore.
Mhm.
But there was a couple of sets that I think I had put up from, I think it was from DoD. And the first photo, like I was pulling up something on my phone. So sometimes they'll pop up in my actual feed. I'm like, why is that blurry? That wasn't blurry.
Oh,
That
that's just
wasn't
Instagram.
pixelated when I put on.
Yeah.
I know, I panicked. So I swiped through the rest of them. I'm like, why do all the rest of them look okay? And I went back to the first one. The first one was fine. So what was happening was when that post was first populating, the photo looked like shit.
Yep,
And
yep.
then it needed a minute, I guess, to do whatever it was doing. And I was like, okay. And then I had like three more posts like that. And I'm like, I wonder if other people are seeing it the same way that I'm seeing it. You know what I mean? It's like I wonder if there is something that's happening to where maybe that's why my photos aren't doing well is because maybe they're too heavy for Instagram. I don't know. Maybe the way I'm exporting them.
So I think the biggest thing is that so that happens to me too. Like the first photo that I
Okay.
post, it's always like pixelated, right? And then like the ones that you scroll across, it's always like it's always nice and crisp like your original photo would look, but the first one is always
Mhm.
pixelated. And then you go back and the first one is fine.
Yeah, it's really
It's
weird.
something to do with Instagram. It's not you, and it's the same thing with
Okay.
videos too. Like what I found was that Um, it's something to do with like the bandwidth. Like if you have like if you're connected to 4G and you look up Instagram, all your footage or whatever, like your feed is all it's all like pixelated or like bad quality. But
Mhm.
the moment you connect to like Wi-Fi or 5G with a good connection, it's normally good. And that's how normally how it applies to your photos as well when you view them. So that's what I've noticed at least because I've been going through this whole battle of the last 2 years looking for like the best
Right.
size to like quality to like
Yeah.
impression so that it doesn't destroy the quality. But then we have that. So
Yeah, it is what it is. Social media, unfortunately, is such a big part of what we do, even though most of us dislike it.
yeah, I mean that's another thing too, is like, like when you get into social media and stuff like that and you start to try to go for like the highest quality stuff, then you kind of just jump into like a whole rabbit hole of what's the best export settings for photos
Yeah.
and videos, and that's a whole mess in itself. So
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like a whole lifetime of like constantly researching it because things change so often too.
yeah, there
One
it's
way
always
works
constantly
for a
changing.
while. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Well, and I think that's a big part of it too, is it's like the whole like adapt or die. Somebody had posted in one of the motorsports groups that I'm in on Facebook, they had posted that they weren't against AI, but they wanted to know like everybody's thoughts on AI and how they felt about it. Do they use it like that sort of thing? And my response to it was basically like, look, AI is a tool. It is meant to be a tool. It is not meant to be a replacement and it's not going anywhere. I was like, I think it's going to die down at some point in time. And I think when it does die down, photo will have more value again. Like traditional photography will have value. And I think the value will go up again in some way, shape, or form. But I think the dust has to settle a little bit. My concern for a lot of people is adapt or die. I think a lot of people are going to go, I hate it. I don't want to learn it. And then they're going to age themselves out of workplaces, essentially.
So
Um,
I agree with that actually. Like I view AI as a tool. Like
mhm.
as long as the AI is not creating the art,
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Well, now
However,
I use AI to create, but I layer. So something that I might not be able to draw graphically, I may want a piece of it to go in with something else so that I can build the bigger thing because I'm not that talented. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like
no, no,
I
no.
can
I'm
use
just
my
saying like
photo sometimes.
I'm just saying more
Good.
like if you wanted to create something from scratch, like blank. Whereas like if you're using AI to edit something, whereas I'm okay with that, especially. I mean AI in general, like I don't have a problem with it too
Yeah.
often, but like kind of like how I normally tell people like with video editing, especially with AI now, like you can mask anything perfectly almost. And
Yeah.
it's like if you aren't taking advantage of that, I'm sorry to hear because like I get it. Like you could do it manually, but you are if you use AI to do it for you to mask something, for example, you're saving yourself hours of work.
Efficiency. Yeah.
Yeah, and
100%.
it's just like you may not like it, but it's like to you have to adapt to it. Like you don't get left behind just because of that. Like because
Yeah.
everybody else is gonna start using it.
Well, they're already starting research and reporting on there's a concern that eventually problem solving is potentially going to be an issue because they're saying it a little bit more that because there's so much access to information sometimes people aren't necessarily going through like the deep dive process on information and problem solving that could be an issue at some point in time here soon as well.
I mean, that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of information that your typical person wouldn't even access. They just see the top of the layer and be like, okay, cool, whatever. Whereas
Yeah.
like AI can bring it all forefront. So
Yeah. Well, and then, well, actually, while we're talking about that, you use DaVinci for your video edits, correct? DaVinci
yes.
Resolve? Okay.
Mhm.
Mike and I were talking about that. I had the free version of DaVinci and then I eventually bought it. I have Adobe Premiere because it's part of my Adobe package, and I use CapCut because it's the most efficient thing that I have been able to find to use. So it's like it all feels like learning a new language sometimes when like you're trying to like learn a new software because they have similarities, but there's different nuances, and then there's these bigger panels of things to learn, and then what do you want to learn? And DaVinci doesn't love my computer. I almost need just like that next step up on like RAM and processing.
Mm.
Um, but it's somewhat manageable, but I can do everything so much faster in CapCut that I haven't taught myself either of the other two, and I really should. I think that's on the
So
agenda for this year.
I think if you don't plan on doing any like big editing or like color grading, then CapCut is probably the best bet, right?
So I
Whereas,
think CapCut makes it easier for me to trim everything. It's faster, which
right,
is the
right, right.
reason that I started using it
Mhm.
because it's not as beefy. I want to use DaVinci for the masking and the color grading because I haven't used it and I would like to. I think the hard part for me is so many of like the tutorials on DaVinci want to talk about log footage, and my Z6 II, I don't have log footage. I can shoot in flat. I don't like shooting in flat, but I can. But it's not the same as having the log footage. So that's one of the things that I played with at the end and beginning of this year was my camera has different color profiles, like that would be considered like a filter, if you will, to where like you can like one's called denim and toy and monochrome and whatever else, like if I just want to shoot a little differently. But I would like to actually feel like I have control over my color grade, and there are obviously options in CapCut, but we know DaVinci is set up so much better for it.
So definitely DaVinci in regards to like color grading is definitely the only reason why I would go with DaVinci, right?
Okay.
Um, however, I would choose DaVinci over Adobe because DaVinci actually takes, especially if you have like a good computer or a good like laptop,
Mhm.
it can actually take advantage of like your hardware to process like effects or like exporting videos and stuff. It does a way better job.
Okay.
That's the reason why I swapped over to DaVinci was because of
Okay.
those two. Um, because I used to use Adobe Premiere,
Okay.
but that's the reason why I swapped. Um, however, with that being said, like just like it's just like anything else where you kind of just have to learn, right? But the whole log thing and like the flat, there's because it's such like a it's so weird because it's almost like a elitist almost. It's like
Yeah,
an
I get it.
elitist thing. Like if you don't shoot log, you're not doing it right, or if you're not shooting
Well, I
um
think what it is so many people, because the ones that are doing these tutorials a lot have the cameras that have the log footage, which is
mhm,
why you get so much information from that log perspective. And then you have some people that are colorists, and that's actually the only thing that they do for like Netflix and, whoever else that they work for. And they're used to working with every different type of camera, like what is it, Ari, and
yeah,
maybe you've
Ari
got
and all this other
Fuji,
stuff.
or yeah, the more cinema cameras. When I thought my camera was going bad, I looked at the new red camera that Nikon has. That was the one that I was actually
Mhm.
leaning towards getting. And then when I realized I didn't have to replace it, I was like, that can wait. I don't have the funds for that. That can wait.
Yeah, so that's what I mean is like when I say elitist, I mean like I can't tell you how many times where it's like I've done something and it's not the way that people would normally do it, or the
Mhm.
people who are super into like being colorists would do it. Like,
Mhm.
like color transform and all this other stuff, and you're converting like color profiles. And it's just like sometimes I don't even do any of that. I just grade it to how going straight from the log to how I think it looks good. Like it doesn't
Right.
have to. Yes, there are like when there's like nodes and stuff in DaVinci, those are basically layers, right? To put it in
Yeah.
short, to make it easier to understand, they're just layers.
Yeah.
Yes, there's probably certain layers that you should put before another one because of the way it
Right.
reacts. But like the whole like normally what I tell everyone who come to me who ask about like what I do with log footage and like color transforms and stuff, I just tell them don't get too sucked into that Just color grade from the get go the way you feel like looks good. Then down
Right.
the road, if you want to go into that rabbit hole of like color transform and converting this to make it look better, quote unquote, do that
Right.
afterwards. But like I can't tell you how many times people have came up or people have messaged me and be like, "Oh, dude, what? I see that you're using a Z8. What color transform are you using?" And I would straight up tell them, like, I'm not using one. I'm
Right.
shooting log and I don't use one. I just and
Yeah.
it's just intimidating because like you have that color transform and you're thinking to yourself, why does it look like this? And if it's too oversaturated, yeah, just desaturate it and just start from from there. But
Right.
people feel like it almost seems like if you don't get the color transform right, it's almost as if they teach you that if you don't get it right from the color transform, you're doing it wrong and your foot is going to come out wrong. Don't even worry about that.
Right.
Just do what you need to do to make it look good to you. And later on, if you want to try to fix it, do it that way because the process of making anything look good for video is too tough, especially if you shoot motorsports. Like like for example, when the sun was setting at DOD, that turn 6 by that sign that says throttle down,
Yeah, yeah.
and where it's all shady and it looks all like I might expose for that and it looks good. And then as soon as they come out from the tree line and it's super
Mhm.
overexposed because the sun's shining on them,
Yep.
you're not gonna get the perfect shot. It's unless you have
Yeah.
like an FX6 or like an FX9 where it has like an auto ND filter and
Yeah.
it's switching it for you on the go. Like just do you. Just have fun, like get the shot and then worry about it later.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like it, it's a whole different beast in itself though. It's a
That's fair. Well, and say again.
oh, it's the same thing with photo editing. Like
Yeah.
I stopped using Lightroom, and people ask me all the time. They go, "What are you using?" And I tell them I use DxO, and they don't know what that is. And it's like, well, I've stopped using
Mhm.
Lightroom because that's overrated as hell now, in my opinion. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's not good. It's still great,
Right.
but I realize that I don't use any AI for Lightroom.
Mhm.
So if I'm not using any AI for Lightroom, then why do I care about it? I should just use something that does everything else better.
I get that. So I actually taught my photo editing to myself on Photoshop first. So it
Hmm.
was really hard for me to make the transition to Lightroom for the bulk edit. Like I bulk editing was not something I was good at. I've gotten better at it because I've made myself at least try it. So I'm a little bit more comfortable with Lightroom than I was initially. I would still prefer to touch one photo in Photoshop and just like completely dial that photo in. But if you're shooting an event where you're shooting so much bulk, you can't, that's impossible to do it that
You
way.
have to use
But
Lightroom.
coming from people photography, where I might shoot with someone for 30 minutes and I might only deliver 5 or 10 photos, I could
Yeah.
take time in Photoshop to do all the layering and the cool stuff that I wanted to do. But that's why I think this year's gonna be a little different. I think I'm just gonna do kinda what I want, and we're just gonna see what happens. But I found what was happening with the video is because I kept trying to try something new. I was spending so much time on, like, one thing, trying to, like, figure something out or teach myself something that I wasn't touching half my footage most of the time. I was only touching, like, 1% of it, which was why I just started, like, clipping everything together in CapCut and then tossing it on YouTube. I'm like, there it is. You want it? There it is. You can go look at it. Because so much of my footage has never been touched. Like I didn't cull it, I didn't label it. Like it's video sitting in a folder.
No, it's the same with me where it's just like some of my shots are poop, but then I have so many shots that I have that I just haven't touched or even looked at.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Well, and with my camera, and I'm sure yours probably has it too. When I shoot video, I can take a screen grab as I'm shooting the video.
Yeah,
Like if I see something I like,
you
you
just
just
press it
press the
while
button.
yeah,
Well, and then I go trigger happy with that. And then I have a shit ton of just JPEG photos that really look like shit. And then I try to make them look like less shit by doing something with the editing. Sometimes they come out okay. If I could dial that in a little bit more, I think I would be content with that because I'm only a one person show, right? So I can't video everything and photograph everything at the same time. So I have to pick one, or I have to pick one I want to swap out. And if I'm not selling the photos, there's no real point in taking the photos. So it's smarter to stick to the video anyway. So there's this constant like internal conversation about what I should or shouldn't do.
So what I've started to do is if I decide that I want a photo from a video, I just keep
Uh,
recording. I don't even take photos from that. And then what I
okay.
normally do is I bring it into
Screen
DaVinci, I
grab
color
later.
grade it, and then I screen grab.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, and I've turned it off. I've turned it off and I've
Mhm.
turned it on a couple of times because if I don't have it on and then I want it, then I'm irritated because I don't have it on and I
Yeah,
want to
it's
take
better to
the
just have it
photo.
on and just not touch it.
Right. But then when I have it on, I get too trigger happy and I'm just like, God damn it, Dawn. It's like, find a balance already.
Yeah.
One day. Now, maybe that's today, but one day. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go because we've been at this for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm going to end the live. You'll stay in the studio with me, but it'll end over on Instagram and YouTube. And
Alright,
if
sounds good.
anybody is still out there listening, thank you. If not, if you're watching this later, we appreciate the fact that you checked us out. All
Thank
right,
you,
that
thank you.
one's
Y'all take it easy.
off.